Hello everyone and welcome to another Star Wars figure review. Today we're going to take a look at some more figures from Wave 6 of the Black Series 6-inch line from Hasbro, and in this review we're going to take a look at the diminutive but wise Jedi Master himself, Yoda. Now I've got to say I'm a huge fan of this figure. I'm really happy to see it finally released, and it really is a very cool figure. The overall look, the accessories, everything about this figure is absolutely awesome. Except for the price. Like with Jabba the Hutt that I gave you a look at in a previous review, this particular figure and figures such as this really should make Hasbro reevaluate the way they price their 6-inch figures. Obviously the 6-inch line retails for around £20 or $20 depending where you're from, but this figure is half the size of a regular 6-inch figure. So should we really be paying the same amount for a figure such as this than we would for, say, Darth Vader or Chewbacca? I'll let you be the judge. As I said, an awesome figure for what it is, but the price really does leave a lot to be desired. So we'll take a look at this figure in more detail in just a little bit, but as always, before we do that, we're going to take a look at the packaging that this guy comes in. Now, once again, this really does highlight the issue that I mentioned earlier about the price. As you can see, we have the regular size 6-inch box with this figure, but he hardly takes up any space at all. You know, I could have understood it if Hasbro had included sort of a Jedi Council chair or some of the diorama elements from his hut on Dagobah, but all we get with this figure is just the figure itself and a few accessories, which I'm not complaining about because I'm really happy with the figure. I just think for the money we should have gotten a lot more. As you can see, that is where Yoda would be stored inside the packaging. On top of the card we have an image of Yoda from The Empire Strikes Back, obviously a stylized image, and on the back we have a description of the character as well as a quote and an image of Yoda training Luke from those iconic scenes in The Empire Strikes Back. So that is the box that Yoda comes in. Now, one thing that I really like about this particular figure is the fact that Hasbro have tried to include a ton of accessories to really sort of blur the line between original trilogy and prequel trilogy era Yoda characters. Obviously in the prequels we see Yoda wield a lightsaber, although in the original trilogy Yoda is never seen with a lightsaber. Now, while the sculpt of the figure and the majority of the accessories are based on the original trilogy, Hasbro have indeed included the lightsaber just to give us that extra bit of play value and a little bit more value for money. While not a whole lot, it's nice to include nonetheless. The sculpt of this figure is one thing I really want to touch base on because I'm absolutely thrilled with the way that the head sculpt came out. Obviously he's a very bright shade of green, but the detail on the facial sculpt is enough to sort of overrule the very bright and blatant shade of green that's used. As you can see, if we come around the back of the figure we have the grey hair in place as well, which again is very blatant, but it's not a huge issue. I don't remember Yoda quite having that much hair in The Empire Strikes Back, but you know, it is what it is. In terms of accessories, Yoda is packed to the brim, and I'm really impressed with the amount that Hasbro gave to this figure. Obviously you've got the lightsaber that I touched base on earlier in the review, which is very nicely sculpted and nicely accurate to the prop seen in the movie. Obviously you've got the shorter hilt and the much shorter blade for Yoda's lightsaber. The blade can be removed from the hilt, although there is no attachment for the hilt to attach to the belt, which is a bit of a shame, but not a deal breaker by any means. As you can see, he also comes with the necklace that he's seen wearing in The Empire Strikes Back, as well as a swamp snake around his neck, which I absolutely love, and I've got to say this is one of my favourite features of this figure. Obviously the snake can be removed, but I think the main reason for that being included is as a nice nod to the original 1980 Kenner figure that was released by Kenner back in the day. You know, the original vintage Yoda was, in my opinion, one of the best looking and best value for money figures from the original vintage line, and that's a nice little homage to that figure there, which also included a snake. You've also got the walking stick as well just there, and the belt on the figure is removable as well. Now, one thing you can actually do with this figure to make him represent a lot closer Yoda as he appears in the prequel trilogy, is you can remove the snake, remove the necklace, and open up the robes a little bit, and obviously that will give you the impression of Yoda as seen in the prequel trilogy. Now, not long after this review, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to post an image to my Instagram feed. So I'm not going to do it in this review for the purposes of time, but if you do want to see how Yoda would look in 6-inch form from the prequel trilogy, head over to my Instagram and you can find me on there at thesithlord229. Now, in terms of articulation, this is another area in which this particular Yoda figure does fault. While it is a very cool figure in terms of overall look, the articulation isn't quite what we'd have expected from a 6-inch figure. Now, he still has the ball jointed head, the ball hinged shoulders and elbows, and the hinged wrists, which is really good for a figure this size. If we come underneath the robes, there's not as much articulation in the legs. As you can see, he does feature hinges at the hips, so you can get him in some of those acrobatic poses that he pulls off in Attack of the Clones. But as you can see, on the legs themselves, we just have swivels at the thigh. There's no articulation in the knee, and I don't believe the ankles are hinged either. I'm telling fibs, they are. The ankles are hinged, but as I mentioned, there is no knee articulation, which is a huge shame, but not so much of a deal breaker because this is a short figure, and we don't really need knee articulation. You know, it's not going to assist us in any way really, so it's not a major issue. But for the most part, this is a great figure. Again, the price is, you know, questionable, but the figure itself is absolutely fantastic, and once again, I'm really happy to have this one in my collection. He's definitely the figure that I was most excited to pick up from the Black Series 6-inch line, or at least from Wave 6, and he definitely doesn't disappoint. So as always, there is a link down below in the video description where you can pick up Wave 6 of the Black Series 6-inch line, and I'll be back to give you a look at the final figure from this wave in my next review. So until then, as always guys, thank you for watching this review, keep collecting, and may the Force be with you.